Hello everyone and welcome to this video, which is in our Great Engine Middlegames series. I'm Grandmaster Matthew Sadler and we are taking a look at Leela against Stockfish from the CCCC21 Rapid semi-finals. And yeah, this was a really interesting game. A game where actually I thought that Leela didn't have that much of an advantage from the opening, but somehow outplayed Stockfish beautifully. Doesn't happen very often, so well worth taking a look at. This was the position after 15 moves, and it's a bit of a mixed bag, really. Obviously, you know, Black's exchanged off queens, which, in general terms, you know, when looking to negate the disadvantages of an inferior opening, exchanging off queens is pretty good. And yeah, I mean, I was kind of thinking, well, I wouldn't mind being Black so much in this position. I mean, I understand that, well, Black's got the two bishops, but this bishop on g7 is really blocked in by this pawn structure, you know, e5, f4, e3. Obviously, there's no play along here. There's no play along the h6, f4 diagonal. Some squares also are taken away from the bishop, like f6. But somehow, yeah, you know, with the two bishops, you always feel that you could get them somehow into play, you know, and then your game wouldn't be that bad at all, you know. So I understand that that Black's got some problems with that dark squared bishop in terms of activity, but yeah, somehow the two bishops, it's a pretty powerful, yeah, powerful impression somehow for human players, I think. I think, you know, some of the things I didn't, I sort of underestimated a little bit. I mean, first of all, I think I underestimated how annoying this bishop is on h5. It's really, you know, stopping the black king from moving to a good square. And that actually makes it kind of hard to get this bishop active. I mean, if the bishop wasn't there, we could play king f7, get the bishop into f8, maybe round to b4, or, you know, supporting c5 and advance of the queenside pawns. You know, that would be very powerful, but somehow with the king here, I mean, if you go to f8, you're blocking in the bishop. If you go around to d8, well, it looks very awkward, and, you know, there's moves like bishop f7 attacking the e6 pawn as well. So I think I definitely underestimated that, and what I also underestimated really was the plan that Leela was going to come up with. I mean, what does White want to do here? I mean, that was kind of one of the things I wasn't really sure about, just intuitively, coming to this position for the first time. But what Leela, the plan that Leela wants to play, you know, I was kind of thinking, well, do you want to do something along the G file? You know, maybe, I don't know, try and get a knight somewhere in. But what Leela's looking for, in actual fact, is to, well, gain space on the queen side, and in particular to play this move c4. You know, attack the black centre, and well, force Black to take a decision, either c6, when this bishop on c8 will be completely blocked in, or d takes c4, when well, White's going to get some open lines to play with on the queen side, and maybe Black's going to have some slight problems defending all that. But yeah, I didn't really have any clear idea, you know, about what Leela was going to do. But what Leela does is really very impressive. The first move is quite hilarious, but obviously if you've been following engine chess, maybe it doesn't surprise you quite as much as it otherwise would have done. It's to play the move a4. And why on earth does Leela start with a4? Now, there's a couple of reasons for that. First of all, you know, we're very used to, whenever engines want to achieve anything on a wing nowadays, always start with the a pawn. It's a very low cost way of just seeing whether you're going to just gain space for free, or whether you're going to elicit a reaction from the opponent. So, you know, a4, that happens a lot, but actually Leela's plan is rather more involved than that. Because what Leela wants to do, Leela wants to move this knight away to e2 and play the move c4. And well, what Leela doesn't want Black playing b5 to stop c4. Also wants to make sure that after d takes c4, c4, d takes c4, the Black can't defend the advanced c pawn with b5. So this is really a move to restrain the Black queen side. You know, you're gaining space, but also to restrain the Black queen side and make that plan of c4 that Leela's got in mind, make that work even better. And if I give you just an example, this is from, let's have a look. This is Dragon against Stockfish, and also Stockfish against Dragon. on my that's my biggest hardware, this one, so yeah, pretty strong engines. Playing knight e2, bishop d7, bishop f3, and now b5 happened with black. King f2, and then a5, and then c5 afterwards. And well, what you notice is that black's the one making the running on the queen side, black's the one getting queenside play, and this idea of white, to play a move like c4 is completely restricted. So I mean, what did Dragon do? Dragon and also Stockfish as well, in some games, played this idea of going knight round to g3 and playing the knight into h5 and then into f6. But rook g6 was played, c3, a4, knight f6, and here, either Dragon or Stockfish, they both took on f6, and this position is not at all easy for white to make progress on. You've got the position is quite blocked. There's only one open file on the board. Obviously you want to restrict that as much as possible when the opponent's got more rooks than you. But we've also got plenty of scope for activity for these bishops. This bishop will find its way back to f8. These queenside pawns are coming through. It's better for white, but it's not terrible for black. And both Dragon and Stockfish were managing to reach draws in from this position as black. So yeah, that is what Leela's trying to avoid black being able to restrict c4, so plays the move a4. It's a very fine positional move. What it also does as well is give white the opportunity to play knight b5 supported, which might be useful to attack a couple of those pawns. So bishop d7 played by Stockfish, king f2, just connecting the rooks, bishop h6 from Stockfish. Yeah, I mean, just getting the bishop, it's a bit of a funny move, but it gets the bishop out of the attack of the g-file. That might happen at some stage. And also gives the idea of playing d4 here, maybe, with the idea of e takes d4, bishop f4, anything to get that bishop active. Interestingly enough, Leela doesn't worry about that move at all. I mean, knight e2 would be possible if you were worried about it, but Leela just plays bishop f3, and after d4, just willing to play knight e2, and if d takes c3, we go king e3, and that pawn's still solid. Not quite as solid as it was, but it is solid. And on the other hand, you've opened up this this diagonal without needing to use your c pawn. Just exchanging a double d pawn for it. So that's not too bad. And well, this was what was happening in my Stockfish Dragon and Dragon Stockfish games. Takes, rook b8. And I think that what was Leela looking for? I think that Leela even was looking for the ideas like a6, b6, and knight g1, and then we're going to try for stuff like bishop b7 and bring the knight f3 into g5. All sorts of possibilities there. It's you can't really say that it's lost for black, but white's always the one putting pressure, and black's always the one struggling to get that bishop on h6 active. But I do sort of feel really that if I'd been Stockfish, I would have wanted to play the move d4, because at least it does feel like it loosens white's position somewhat, at least. Rook d8 was what Stockfish played in the end, and now knight e2, and that chance has passed. And after c5, Leela now played c4. Now, interestingly enough, Dragon in this position was looking to play the move b4, which is in the reverse, so Stockfish against Leela. Stockfish also did something, not in this position, but something vaguely similar at some point, just b4 as a pawn sacrifice. And what's the idea? Well, you're going to get d4 for this white knight, and the idea basically is that you can't manage to really defend this pawn on b4 properly. And well, this is what Dragon sort of made of it, but yeah, didn't quite feel as convincing, really. It felt like black had a lot more counterplay, and well, if you manage to get the bishop round to f8 to c5, who knows, black might even be better there. So, interesting idea, certainly a shocker for me, but yeah, not the best. Leela's c4 is the nicest here. And the big problem is that, Actually, the fact that black's played this move c5 makes life even worse for the dark squared bishop, because now it's not actually ever going to get out. And what Leela's looking for with c4, what Leela would be very happy to do, would be to exchange off the light squared bishops. For example, bishop c6 takes, rook c1, bishop f3 takes, b6, b4. This was Dragon against Stockfish. Yeah, Dragon really wanting to get him b4, but c takes b4, a5, and well, you notice that when black's played b6, the light squared bishops are off. Yeah, d4 is going to be a really powerful square for the knight, and well, I'll just show you how this game Dragon against Stockfish continued. Rook d7, rook c6, knight d4, the e6 pawn is going, and after e6 goes, f5 will go as well. So rook a6, rook b1, rook takes a5. Yeah, I mean, black's managed to get a big pass pawn on b2, but in the meantime, these pawns are rolling here, and well, this proved to be rather unpleasant. White just plays rook a6, f6, and in you go, really. So, yeah, I mean, the exchange of light squared bishops is going to be very, very risky for black now, especially now this move c5 has been played and white's got this c4 in. So, yeah, Stockfish played d takes c4 and rook c1, and but it's kind of tricky. I mean, how is black getting free here? If you can't exchange off the light squared bishops, then well, this guy's going to be rather passive. You're not going to be able to challenge the bishop on the long diagonal. Some of my engine games went king f7, rook c4, bishop f8. I think that was my suggestion actually, and then b4 was played. Obviously the idea to be able to come into c7, possibly after taking on b7 first. If you go rook c8, we go b5, b6, and yeah, all sorts of things happening here. One of my engine games was to go h5, bishop e7 and h6, just looking for bishop h5 and then rook g1. We've got a5 coming in, and you can put some pressure on b6 once you get b5 defended. An awful lot of different things here. This was who was this? This was Dragon against Stockfish. Stockfish against Dragon. A bit of both, actually. They were tending to play quite similar in actual fact. Bishop e8 takes. You've got rid of the light squared bishops. h5. Looking to, at some stage, maybe go h6 and get g7. Rook a2 takes, and then a5 breaking through. And, well, if you've got enough time, you'll take, you'll go rook a6, you'll bring a knight round to c4, and just, watch black's position collapse there. Just really, really, difficult all the way for black here. So Stockfish played bishop f8, rook takes c4, rook c8, rook c2 from Leela. Just a nice prophylactic move, covering d2, and preparing to maybe bring the knight round c3 into b5, into d6, and attacking a7 as well. We're also threatening bishop b7 because we're covering the b2 pawn. So king f7 here. Now actually something quite interesting. Leela didn't take the pawn on b7, maybe feared that there might be some counterplay as the only thing I can really imagine, that bishop b7, rook b8, followed by rook b4. Leela didn't bother doing any of that, just played the move knight c3. That's quite impressive, I have to say. So bishop c6 played now by Stockfish. Again, if you do something like rook b8, I could give a check you in the corner, and then go bishop f7, and well, you're going to have a horrible time trying to develop and also get still protect that e6 pawn. For example, bishop c8, rook g8, b6, knight b5, and this has gone completely pear-shaped for who was this? Was this Dragon? This was Dragon as black, Stockfish as white. Really, really awkward there. So well, bishop c6 was played. Not what Stockfish really wants to play, but yeah, you need to have a little bit of freedom in your pieces. And I think that bishop c6 would have been a very decent move here, but Leela played an even nicer move, bishop h5. Well, if you play king g7, we're going our rook g1 check, and wherever you go, king h8 for example, bishop f7, hitting e6, threatening rook g8. So king e7 was played by Stockfish, but of course you're blocking yourself in like this, and now knight b5 happened from Leela, and you're threatening a7, you're also threatening d6 as well. Yeah, I mean, just somehow sort of hard to, to really understand why have things got so difficult for black all of a sudden. It's just this move a4 from white, and all of a sudden everything made sense. c4 was coming in, and then you're just inexorably ending up with black with a bad minor piece somehow. I mean, if you took on b5, I'll just take king d7. Well, if you go rook a8, I'll take on c5. If you go king d7, I'll go here. I thought this might be reasonable, just to give up that useless a pawn, give white double b pawns. But yeah, then we go bishop f7 and we're attacking this one. When this one disappears, and we've got two passed pawns again. Just just somehow always just unbelievably difficult to hold black's position together. And yeah, I mean, Leela must have understood, quite a bit of this, from quite afar. But for me, it was a real shock. I just hadn't realised, for example, how weak this pawn was. How bad black's position would be if black was left with this dark squared bishop and a light squared bishop, either against a white light squared bishop or a white knight. Difficulties all round for black. Now, bishop e4 was played by Stockfish, just trying to get a bit of counterplay, but yeah, Leela just ignores it really. Just rook e2, rook e1 looks really passive. But again, yeah, I mean, what's the problem? If bishop c4 was played, I mean, if you go bishop takes b5, a b5, I mean, there's no point in coming here. I just go rook e2, and then a7 is hanging. I'm going to go bishop f3 to attack the b pawn as well. If you go rook a8, bishop f3, rook d7, rook ec1, attacking this one. It's just all I've got moves like b6, with a pin on here as well. It's just everything is just horribly awkward for black. And if you try and bring your king along here, then we'll maybe move our rook to the a file. We can also move the rook to the g file and come in here as well. Yeah, it doesn't feel like a position where black should be unbelievably stretched, but it just ends up being that all the time. It's just really impressive somehow. So bishop c4 was played by Stockfish, looking to try and get rook d2 without allowing rook e2. And now knight d6 here, just blocking. And Stockfish, of course, had anticipated giving up the exchange. Now we saw a position where white had given up the exchange, where black had rather given up the exchange there. But well, the big difference here is that black, well, in that position, the queenside pawns were advanced. And there was only one open file, but here white's got two open files to play with, and that's a bit too much, really. Having said that, it's not at all, the way that Leela plays is not so obvious somehow. So rook g1, looking for the g file, then we check, and now bishop f3. So Leela's just not at all concerned about giving up the pawn. Just king e2, and then we'll hit the bishop on the way, and then get hold of the h pawn there. If bishop f6, we go rook h1, rook c7, and then rook h5 is a really clever move, because we're just threatening bishop d5 followed by rook f5. I mean, they're small tactical points, but they're kind of crucial, to making this all work, because, if you just took on there first and went rook h5, black would have king e6 to defend. But you go rook h5 first, and black doesn't have the e6 square for the king. Small differences, but massive results. So bishop f6 from Stockfish. And now b3 from Leela. And now Stockfish decided that it was time to open things up with c4. So bishop d5 takes and takes. And, well, again, I mean, it doesn't... You can sort of imagine black getting some counterplay with taking this pawn. This pawn's hanging. You're not getting in too easily to the position. And actually, this move really shocked me, because after a5, black plays rook c2 check, king f3, and bishop h4, threatening mate on f2, incredibly enough. And the defense that Leela plays is just rook df1. It looks really passive somehow. But the idea is simply that white's just going to go rook h1 and pick up that h-pawn. So bishop d8 played, rook h1, and bishop a5, rook h6 check. And now another fine move, rook h5. So not going after this h-pawn, but going after the f-pawn, which means that the white f-pawn will come through. However, I have to say that if you showed me this position, I wouldn't be, like 100% sure that white's even better here somehow. But for the engines, this is a clear win. But it's all to do with quite complicated tactics somehow. b5, rook f5, king c4, and then rook f6 is a nice move, threatening rook c6. And it just means the rook's very good on the 6th rank, because it means that when you play f5 to f6, the pawn's protected. So we're after bishop c3, we go rook c6, check, and f5, and our next move will be f6. We don't have to do anything special to have it protected there, and that's really, really important. So after b4, f6, king b2. Lots of possible moves here. I mean, f7 would be quite good, but Leela played the move rook g1. Aiming to get the rook active. Maybe take this pawn through g5 and get the rook across here. Bishop e5 and then rook e6. And then, Stockfish decided it was time to give up the bishop for that pawn, because it's kind of hard to stop. By the way, I should point out that rook g1 also stops bishop g7. So after you are actually threatening f7. Sorry, that was the main idea. f7. After f7, then you can't go bishop g7 because the rook's covering. It was that coming, I'm afraid. So bishop e5, rook e6, takes. And now a5 from Stockfish. Still looks like some counterplay. Rook a6, rook c5. After all, this pawn is coming through. And now Leela's plan here took me completely by surprise. I'm not quite sure what I was expecting with white somehow, but this was quite something. King f4, b3, king e5. What's the idea? Yeah, you're just going to actually try and win this d-pawn with the king and then move the e-pawn forward. And you're keeping this rook on the back rank, ready to, discomfort the black king if ever that's required. h5 played, king d6. Rook c1, looking for some sort of exchange. Yeah, obviously trying to get this h-pawn going as fast as possible so that you can give up your get one pawn queen, get the white rook, and then this pawn's rolling. But not going to happen. Rook g2, check, takes. And now this very interesting move, rook g3. It's a really nice move because, the rook's cutting across here. And it means that when black plays king c3 to try and get this, this pawn moving, white plays the move e4 check. You have to spot that, really, don't you? King c4 and e5. And, out of nowhere, white's transformed this e3 pawn into a huge passed e-pawn. b2, rook c6 check. Always these nice moves with tempo. King d4, rook b6. I mean, it's worth chasing the black king away there, just a little bit further away from the b pawn. And white's actually just threatening now to go rook gb3 and pick up the pawn. And if you go a4, I've got rook b4 check, when you'll have to go here, and I can take the pawn on b2. So it's really, really, really nice. This, Stockfish played rook c8, but now we get e6, check, rook a8, but it's all falling apart. Rook a7, king f6, and didn't take long for Leela to put this away by queening the e-pawn. I was really interested in this game. I thought it was a really, really, really cool game. I mean, I think probably, in general, maybe, underestimated the power of White's position after this. I think the awkward position of the black king, the fact that this bishop is so trapped, the fact that when you go a move like c5, if white can block it with c4, it just gives, that this dark square bishop is really poor. The fact that exchanging the light square bishops would be so strong for white. And you can exchange it either for the white's knight or white's bishop. It's just that the dark square bishop is so weak. That hadn't really occurred to me. But this plan of Leela's, to play a4, hold back the black queen side, and just make c4 possible and so strong. That's a really great plan. And none of that had remotely occurred to me when I just saw the position and just saw it whiz past. And it was just really nice play there. Bishop f3, knight e2, and then c4 here, and dc4, rook c1, and black's all of a sudden black's position is just, all the life has been drained out of it, and it's just really a question of when white is going to break through. Really impressive because, of course, Stockfish had the same position as white against Leela and didn't get any way close there. Didn't manage to exert the same sort of grip on the queen side. Didn't manage to do anything like that at all. So there we are. Good to see. You know, it is lovely to see that yeah, you can have two such strong engines, and they just find, you know, completely different ways of playing positions, and they win completely different positions to each other as well. You know, just really shows you, you know, and gives you confidence in how rich chess is and how long we've still got to go before chess is solved. So there we are. Hope you enjoyed that video. If you liked it, why not give a like, subscribe to the channel, take a look at my new books, Silicon Road to Chess Improvement and Reengineering the Chess Classics, the latest. All about classic games analysed by engines, discovering lots of stuff with great human explanations of what it all means. And otherwise, you know, thanks very much for watching, and hope to see you for the next videos. Thanks for watching.